Well, how's it going? Claude Code just released Agent View, and I think it's one of the coolest new features. I don't think it's revolutionary by any means. It's something that I will definitely use in my day-to-day work. Now, in this video, I prepared a few high-level slides that kind of goes over the documentations in a more digestible way. But if you're interested, feel free to read the Claude Code docs yourself. And to showcase some of the work, I decided to kind of prepare this like trip tracking app, and we're gonna just build it for fun. Now, what is Agent View? So Agent View is essentially this. You just go to Claude and agents. And what you're seeing right now is Agent View. It's essentially a TUI orchestration built right on top of Claude Code. It supports mouse clicks and like keyboard shortcuts, and we're gonna get into all this. So we're gonna first talk about why do we even need this? What was wrong with managing Claude instances before? What does this particular view trying to solve? Before Agent View, common things is you had one window and one instance. And that's kind of how most people experience agentic coding. But then you're just like watching and it takes time. Now, the next thing, the most obvious thing a lot of people try to do, including me, is creating a lot of terminals and managing a lot of terminals. So I'll show you what that looks like. So here, previously, what I did was I would create a bunch of panes. I'll name it certain things, and then I would create another pane, and then I would essentially juggle my instances, kind of like StarCraft. I talk about this a lot, but essentially I'll have multiple panes and I'm doing multiple things, and I'll rename them like newsletter here or something like that. And then let's say I'm working on a different project right here, and then I'll name it like Booker or something like that. And then I would just like juggle it. The issue with this is that it could get confusing. If you're not really good at this kind of like hotkeying and like context switching, you could get overwhelmed. So that's why Codex, for example, introduced this kind of like sidebar where you have a bunch of projects. And Claude app also has all of these like different side things. That's kind of the pattern. And this orchestration layer is kind of the solution. It's one view that shows what all of your agents are doing. Now, I think I love being in the terminal. So this is kind of my ideal form factor. And I really like the little like animations and kind of the different various states. And I think they put a lot of thought into this when they built it. I just really like how it's built. And I've already kind of like switched all of my workflows to be using Agent View. All right, so to get into this flow, all you have to do is type Claude agents. Make sure you're on the latest version of the Claude Code, and you just type in Claude agents. One thing you'll notice right away is that whatever sessions you have open before, it doesn't matter what like directory you open it, it will persist, which is a really nice feature because, you know, oftentimes you can lose instances. Essentially, they're running in the background. Even if you completely close out of your terminal and then you type in Claude agents again, it will all be there. All of your instances will still be there. So you don't really need tmux anymore. But yeah, anyways, at a high level, this is kind of what it looks like. There's these different colors that signify different things, and there's these different states. And you could kind of see it already happening right here. Now let's talk a little bit about keyboard shortcuts. I always say keyboard shortcuts is like really important when you're learning anything in the like a CLI tool. Even though this does allow like, you know, like controls, I think it's just faster and better. Now, the first one that we want to look at is to start any task, depending on what directory you're in. Let's say that I'm in this project right now. You just come here and then you could start any task. You just type in anything here. So we could say something like, let's load up phase 2 of our project. Right here, it actually uses Haiku under the hood to do this kind of like reply thing. But the first thing I like to do is I like to rename this working like directory so I can like remember what I was doing. So to do that, you hit control+R and then you rename it. So I've been doing like kind of the name of the project and then that specific high level task that I was doing. Now, phase 2 is related to the project that I'm doing. I created a bunch of to-dos. So we're just going to go ahead and load it here. Now, what this is doing, you can see is gray. Gray means that it's working. So if you hit right here, it goes into the instance. This is called attaching to the instance. And then if you hit left when there's nothing in the prompt below, that's detaching from the instance. Now, one of the nice thing is there's a hotkey called peek when you hit space. And then you'll see right here, it kind of shows you like you could quick reply to things if you have the peek mode. So for example, if I'm here, I could say something and I could go over here and then like quickly say things. Now, the other kind of like important ones is like to pin. You can see I have things pinned here, right? So you could pin. The other thing that I think is important is to know about is to hit control+S. Control+S, if you see here, it exposes this like grouping into the actual directory. One important thing to note is that you can have more than one like directory that you're working on the agent view, which is really important, right? Because if you know anything about Claude Code and if you've been watching my videos, like context engineering is really important. So you want to scope the context to the project that you're working on. So each of these are their own like Claude Code projects. But yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. But that's the high level. The other minor thing is you can collapse the groupings by hitting enter on the like parent like grouping name. So yeah, that's the high level. I think the most important thing is going in and out like this and then being able to quickly juggle the different instances and then just going peek and then you could imagine just using like whisper to like go and then come back, right? All right, so we're gonna go and start building this project. Essentially, I want to showcase kind of when this like agent view is very important. Now, I already kind of gave you a lot of like reasons why you might want to use it, like the persistence, being able to get an entire view of all the agents that are running, and being able to quickly juggle them. I think those are obviously really good. But another useful thing is you could parallelize a lot of work because under the hood, when you create a new instance, you can use like work trees so that you can do multiple tasks all at the same time without things colliding. Just a quick note on like parallel development. Because you can use like work trees under the hood, you can do a lot of like these works in the same repo without having a lot of collision. As long as you're kind of being thoughtful about like what kind of features you're going to work on, the merge conflicts won't be as crazy. Now you could also just use agent teams under the hood and just have one session manage all of that collision for you. So that's like another really good option. One really important mental model I think that you need to change here is that you're no longer going from like pair programming, which I think was kind of 2025 and like cursor, like before cursor went to this like agent swarm kind of style, which all of the coding apps are going to right now. And now it's more like you're a tech lead and you're just like managing a bunch of tasks and you're really focusing on agentic engineering and building your harnesses. Yeah, if you haven't seen my video on agentic engineering, I highly recommend it. I think it's one of the most important concepts and topics that you need to learn. And if you understand that, you start understanding why these AI labs are kind of pushing towards this one direction. We're no longer trying to supervise and we're trying to leave the loop as much as possible and then just do more guidance and direction. Every major upgrade of these models and these tools, it feels like we're moving one more abstraction layer up to the stack. So at a high level, there's these like different colors that you will see. Like yellow is waiting and it's checking for failures. Green means that it's done, it's passed, everything's merged in. And then when things are like working, it'll turn gray. And then purple means when it's merging, it's done. Like if you had like a work tree. So you can see right now, I have like one thing that is like actively running right here, which is doing a bunch of stuff. It spawned like local agents and it's like kind of going to build a bunch of things. Another shortcut that I didn't mention is control+X, and that you hit it again and that deletes that particular instance. Create an agent team and start building and working through wave 3. Let's start looking at how I would actually like build something like this. Like if I were to work on these projects all at the same time, how would I do this? So now obviously this is kind of like an extreme example. Like normally if I were to start a project like this and I had kind of like specs already laid out, I would kind of just let one agent team do the whole thing. Now, the only way you can get any of these to work is to really have like a good spec, like a good PRD and good like harnesses, so that you can have like the self automated loop. So you're not like hand holding the agent the whole time. But let's go ahead and like kind of look through some of this. So I'll say something like this. All right, let's work on the trip homepage. Take a look at our PRD and our to-dos, and let's continue building this specs out until it matches the designs. For example, and I will just rename this to Hermes trip home screen, for example. And then here I'll create another one. Let's work on the active dash screen and make sure that we look at the PRD and the to-dos and matches the designs. As an example, this is something that I might do. And to be clear, normally I would spend a lot of time in plan mode and plan out the architecture of all of this stuff, kind of like get it to a very fine engineering like quality bar in just a plan mode. And then I would just have an agent team just execute all of these. Now, the way I would use each of these like instances would be every instance will have like a very detailed spec for the plan for a very specific like feature that I'm working on. And then I would like have the proper harnesses to do the self validation and then have the plan mode that I would have spent like hours on and make sure it's good. And I would let it just go. I would just come back to it from time to time. But the whole idea is that I will have all of like multiple of these agents running at a high level, and I just have one view where I can see everything going. And I kind of like that I could like rename it, and then I just give a little bit more context, and it's like a live view and it has different things. So I'm able to just have this one terminal open and just monitor everything that's going on. At a high level, I really like it. And here is the like initial version of this app. It's just the start of it. It's still running. It's gonna build. I'll go ahead and share like a video of what it looks like here, like a full video of it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Anthropic just had like a developer day, and I watched a ton of that coverage. So I have a lot of thoughts on a lot of the talks. I'll probably like make some videos around that soon. But this particular feature I thought was really cool, and it's something that if you guys are like been looking for your own orchestration layer and you are having a hard time juggling the different layers of like all the different contexts and all the different instances, I think this view will be like really helpful. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I have a lot of Claude Code videos and agentic engineering videos on my channel. Feel free to check that one out. I also had a video about why I was so addicted to Claude Code. This feature is not going to help me. It's going to make me even more addicted, I think. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.